Welcome, everybody, to hour number 2 of the Ross Report. Breaking news all about our charter and, well, did we fix the charter? Well, that's what we're going to try to find out. And we're very pleased and really honored to have on the line with us our Secretary of State, Kyle Ardoin. Mr. Ardoin, welcome to the Ross Report.
Oh, thank you, Carol. Good to be with you.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. I know how busy you are. One thing that came to mind, and the first question that came to mind was, obviously, this issue didn't just pop up on your radar screen. Who alerted you to the problems with this charter? How did you get involved?
Well, actually, it did sort of pop up on my screen yesterday, literally on my email screen. I saw an exchange of emails, and I'm not sure exactly who threw me in there, but I'm glad they did. So I met with staff late yesterday, and then the Mayor Robideau and I exchanged phone calls and weren't able to connect until this morning. So I'm actually sitting at the table with legal advisors now going through this whole situation. And I've requested a 9 a.m. meeting on Monday morning with the clerk of court, the registrar of voters, the mayor, the chair of the city council, and others in order to go through in depth the situation that we're facing and how to come up with a solution. I think we all just need to pull together, work together to find a solution for the people of Lafayette.
Well, I appreciate that. There are many of us who had questions about rushing this from the beginning. And so I'm wondering, at this point in time, what can possibly be solved with the fact that if they put it on the ballot for the fall, that you're saying that it has to be solved by mid-March. I mean, something has to be decided by mid-March. What shape would that take? How do we solve this to get it on the ballot, or would it be better to step back and redo it and do it the right way?
Well, I mean, certainly, if the elections are to move forward in the fall of the new city council districts, then the proper descriptions and the proper boundaries of the districts have to be in place. In order for that to occur, then the city council needs to amend, they need to pass an ordinance fixing the boundary mistakes. And my understanding, there's 4 major errors and 10 technical errors among some other issues. But all of that has to be fixed and submitted to the bond commission by March 11th in order to be able to be approved to be placed on the ballot in May for the people to amend their charter to make it by the appropriate district boundaries, and then for the elections to proceed in the fall for their new council members.
In the fall of 2020, not the fall of 19, correct? What will we? I mean, if you're saying
the fall of 19. The fall of 19 is my understanding from my staff.
Well, if it has to be approved by the bond commission March 11th for a May ballot, that would be May of this year? You're saying a May of this year?
Yes, ma'am.
And not, okay, so the revisions would have to be in May in order for the
correct.
Council elections to be in the fall. Now,
that is correct.
Mr. Ardoin, realistically, seriously, realistically, is that doable?
That's up to the city council. I mean, they've got to pull their act together and get this solved, because otherwise, I'm not sure the elections could proceed in the fall, and we're looking into it. We don't know if there's any mechanism to halt the election unless someone filed suit, I guess, and a judge stopped the elections, because it would literally be people without representation. The way the charter is written and the districts are described, there's literally, I'm looking at a map where there's numerous
people in the wrong districts. Actually,
they're actually in they're in no district.
Oh my gosh,
They're just not there. They're there in the city, obviously, but they would have no representation, so they wouldn't even have anybody to vote on, and these people would be making decisions. I don't believe that can happen with the Constitution.
No, we can't have. I mean, these people who sold this thing said there was taxation without representation. Now it looks like it actually is going to be that if they don't get this fixed.
Well,
and
Carol, here's the concern, and this is a lesson for all local governments. The registrar of voters and the clerk of court should have been involved in this process from the beginning. And to my knowledge, and I'll be happy to be stand corrected, but my knowledge from both discussing the clerk and the registrar, neither one were ever involved in this process. And that's why we're facing this issue. Local governments need to work with their clerks of court and their registrar of voters when they are redistricting to make certain that all lines, all areas of a jurisdiction are included in each district, and the precincts are done appropriately. And I just think this may have been, unfortunately, rushed. I don't want to judge the situation, but if we are going to have a successful election in the fall for these council districts that have been created, they've got to be fixed in May, or we have a serious constitutional dilemma facing us.
What, in your considered opinion, and keeping the politics out of it and who messed up and all that kind of, to be frank with you, I started my program with the song Behind Closed Doors because we felt, those of us who saw this being rushed, that there wasn't enough involvement. I had no idea the registrar of voters and clerk of court were not involved. I thought surely, anybody who had any stake in this as a parish-wide elected official would have been involved, but I guess not. And so those of us who felt that it was not properly vetted are now wondering, is the ballot set up already? I mean, have you published the ballot for the fall elections?
No, ma'am. No, that won't be done until August. The qualifying for that election is the 6th, 7th, and 8th of August. So we have the crunch time that we have facing us is to be able to get it on the May ballot, which the people, in our opinion, have to vote on these district changes because they had already approved the parish charter and the districts were included in the parish charter.
Right.
So because that's the fact, then we feel like very strongly that the people have to vote on these changes. So as the chief elections officer, Carol, I'm telling the people of Lafayette, this has to be fixed. The city council has to fix it by the 11th of March, get it to the bond commission on the morning of the 11th. In fact, it has to be fixed before the 11th. It needs to be at bond commission on the morning of March 11th so that it can be approved to be on the May ballot so the people of Lafayette can vote on these changes to make certain everybody has representation.
Well, and according to our home rule charter, they have to have an introductory ordinance for this, and then it has to wait 2 weeks and then wait for final approval. So it's even tightening up the window of possibility even more, is it not?
It sounds like it. I haven't seen that depth of the.
That's typically what we do. They do an introductory ordinance, and then 2 weeks later, it gives a 2 week time period for discussion, whatever, and then final approval is typically 2 weeks later at the council meeting. So I don't even know with this time frame if that's even possible. Now you mentioned if a judge did an injunction, let's say some citizens asked the judge to just enjoin this completely until this whole thing can be ironed out. The issue of no representation, could that not be, as part of that injunction, extend the council, because they already did it once, they did extend the council members' terms in order to avoid that issue, that was an issue. Could that be part of the injunction?
Only the judge can rule that that can occur. So if it's happened once, I'm certainly it can happen again. But we'll certainly pull that. Right. I'll have my attorneys pull that case and look at it. But we're committed. We're committed to working with local officials to fix this problem as quickly as they're willing to do so, and go from there. I mean, if they feel like it, and the people of Lafayette feel like it should wait, I'm just telling you the timeline of which it's got to be able to be voted on.
Got it. Well, I don't know who the anonymous person is who got you in on the email thread and alerted you to this problem, but I want to thank them anonymously for doing that, because we have had serious misgivings, many of us have, about the language. And so I'm delighted I'm sorry that this is happening, but I'm delighted that cooler heads may prevail, and perhaps we can get this fixed once and for all. And I really appreciate you and your staff's time to look at the legal issues in depth and help the citizens of Lafayette come to a good conclusion. Thank you so much, sir. And thank you for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.